The journey home begins. After thousands of miles and unforgettable adventures, it's time to start making our way back east from Utah to Pennsylvania. But before the long drive begins, we've got one last chance to explore the wild landscapes of the West. Our first stop, a big one, none other than Arches National Park, home to some of the most jaw-dropping rock formations on the planet, including the most famous arch of them all, Delicate Arch. I've hiked this trail before, 4 times actually, but this time I wanted to experience it like never before, under the stars. At 4 a.m., with nothing but headlamps cutting through the darkness, Sam and I set off into the high desert wilderness of Utah. The hike itself isn't long, just 1.5 miles one way, but don't let the distance fool you. This trail is no walk in the park. It's a steep, exposed climb over slick rock slabs, narrow ledges, and rugged terrain that feels even more intense in the complete darkness. Out here, miles from any city lights, the night sky is unreal. Billions of stars stretching from horizon to horizon, the Milky Way glowing overhead, and absolute silence except for the crunch of our boots on the stone below. As we hike through the dark, we pass through pieces of the past, such as old wooden ruins left behind by the early settlers and petroglyphs carved by the Ute people more than 1,000 years ago. These markings tell stories we'll never fully understand. Ancient echoes in a landscape that hasn't changed for millennia. The deeper we go, the more surreal it feels. Just 2 figures guided by a single beam of light, moving through a landscape that looks like something from another world. This is just the beginning of the road trip home, and there's plenty more adventures ahead. But for now, we've got a trail to finish. As always, enough talking, let's get to hiking. Alright, good morning folks. Welcome back to an all-new episode of Maximum Outdoors. As you can see, not our typical starting point for a video here. We are driving down this crazy mountain road today for good reason. It's a little after 5 a.m. and we're going to be taking you into Arches National Park and doing one of the most popular, most premier hikes in maybe the entire country. We're going to be taking you to Delicate Arch for sunrise. It's going to be a challenge. I've done this hike 4 other times, so I feel like I know the terrain fairly well. So we got the flashlights ready to go, and we got about a, 40-minute drive until we get there. So come along with us. It's going to be a good one. Arches National Park. This is the 3rd national park for the trip, and I got Sam along with me. So let's go. Let's have some fun. All right, folks, well, I know you can't see me right now, but we have officially made it into Arches National Park. All the stars are out right now. We're surrounded by all this awesome red rock. We passed on by some really awesome formations, including balanced rock. And yeah, here we are at the Delicate Arch Trailhead. As you can see, it's a pretty popular destination. People probably sleep here overnight, but there are already a couple folks out there hiking. You can see off in the distance. So yeah, Delicate Arch, sunrise hike. Could you ask for cooler circumstances than this? So Sam's gonna throw on her shoes. We're gonna get to hiking, and yeah, I think it's gonna be a magical morning. There's not a cloud in the sky, as you can see. The sun's starting to rise over the hills towards the little sows off in the distance there. Wow. I'm ready to go. Let's do this, guys. Once, twice.
Twice.
So this will be your 3rd?
I think so.
All right, let's do it. Yeah, guys, how cool is this? My alarm went off at about 4 a.m. this morning, and trust me, I don't think either of us wanted to get up. And to make matters worse, we had to drive down the crazy LaSalle Mountain Loop Road, which is one of the sketchiest routes you can possibly drive in the pitch darkness. We didn't see any wildlife this morning, but we had some cow encounters, elk encounters throughout the week, and we made it. It is a little after 5 a.m. right now, and as you can see, the sun is pretty visible off in the distance, so let's keep going. Obviously, on the way up, we're not going to be able to see too much, but I promise we'll take our time on the way back, and I'll show you some of the scenery here, because it is just stunning. You're basically hiking through this Martian type terrain, and then after we wrap up Delicate Arch, we'll stop at a couple of the viewpoints and maybe shorter trails before departing. We do have a 5-hour drive after this, so time is kind of an issue today, but we're gonna soak it all in as best as we can. Sam's leading the way. Look at this. Just a quick stop here. Check out these views. The sun is starting to shine upon all the red rock here. Just an amazing, amazing area. And if you couldn't tell already, this place is extremely busy. That is a 2-lane road coming right into Delicate Arch. I'm sure all these people are coming in here to hike this first thing this morning. Definitely one of the busiest trails I've ever been on. How many people did we see already?
Like 8.
Yeah, so. And the sun isn't even up yet, so let's get going. We're probably gonna miss the sunset by a couple minutes, but it is what it is. Well, as you can see, we have left behind the kind of paved groom trail, and we are hiking along this pretty exposed red rock. Off in the distance there, if you can make out those mountains, that's actually where we drove down from this morning, pretty much up at the peaks there. We are a good almost 8,000 feet in elevation. Where I'm standing right now, this is 5,000. And as you can see, me and Sam are huffing and puffing our way up this exposed area. Speaking of exposed, this area gets extremely hot, so make sure if you ever do this trail, bring a lot of water. It is already 80 degrees, and it's like 6 a.m. right now, believe it or not. So yeah, we are on the struggle bus. I've been hiking for the last 10 days. I'm feeling it, but we're gonna get you to Delicate Arch one way or another. All right, kind of a funny story, but a few days ago when we were doing our pre-wedding photo shoot up at Dead Horse Point, we seen some odd object up in the sky, and I see it again pretty much in the same spot. As you can see, no stars in the sky, but off in the horizon there you can see that tiny little white dot, and no, it's not a star. My cousin Matthew was actually up over in the LaSalle's. He saw the same thing the same morning, pulled out his binoculars and pointed them at that dot. It's actually a weather balloon, and it's pretty wild that I've seen it twice now in the same location. If you zoom in on it, it just looks like a little square. I'll try to show you a picture right now what he captured, but pretty interesting. You never know what you're going to find out here in the American Southwest, that's for sure. Well, you can start to see some juniper trees the higher in elevation we get here. I remember the last time I hiked this, route finding was a bit tricky, but it does seem like they've made some trail improvements here since the last time I hiked this, which was probably 8 years ago. But yeah, if I had to describe this environment in one word, it would be unforgiving. You know, very exposed, it's hot already, slippery, everything out here wants to kill you. There's thorns on everything. It's just a very unforgiving landscape. I would not want to get lost out here. But looks like we're gonna hike through a cool little slot canyon here. But yeah, juniper trees everywhere, pretty beautiful. Yeah, check out the scenery, folks. We are just steps away from one of the coolest reveals on a hike that you'll ever see. I don't know if you can see the folks kind of rounding that bend up there, but once we go around that corner, like I said, you will see one of the coolest reveals you'll ever see on a hike. So let's go. See some petrified sand dunes off to my left, a tiny little keyhole arch, natural bridge, and I think we are going to get here just as the sun begins to rise over the hills here in eastern Utah. Let's get there and check it out together. I think I'm just going to let the camera run, because if I remember, right around this bend you get your first view at probably the most iconic arch in the entire world, as well as kind of the symbol of the Southwest. It's on the Utah state quarter. You've probably seen pictures of it, and yeah, we're getting excited, I think. How are you feeling with your lantern? Here we are. Drum roll, please. You ready? You ready? You ready? Here's kind of the reality of the national parks. Everybody sees those empty landscapes, but in reality, you're always going to run into a ton of folks. But here we go. All right, here we go. Let's try to get up close and personal with one of the coolest things that you'll ever see in your life here. All right, we're pretty much at the base here of Delicate Arch. And I will say, we're 4 times, oop, somebody lost their water. That's not good. Goal. Anyway, this is the 5th time I've hiked this, but I can say I've never actually walked down to the base of this. Check this out. Absolutely stunning. See the LaSalle's off in the distance there. Here we are. It's gonna be like walking through a portal here. You can see the sun is starting to come up over the mesa here. It's gonna be hitting off the arch here in just a couple seconds. Wow. Here we are. Straight under Delicate Arch. How cool is this? Definitely worth waking up at 4 a.m. I'd say. Yeah, so this is your view of Arches National Park at Delicate Arch on a Monday morning. Pretty wild. But crowds are not I wouldn't trade this view for anything. This is pretty darn remarkable. Wait until noon. This place will just be a zoo. Definitely got a nice crowd up here at the arch. What's your thoughts? Worth the hike?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad we did it in the morning though, before it got really, really hot.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll get hot.
Yeah, it'll be like 90 down here today. You can see the LaSalle's, like I said, off in the distance. That's where we drove down to. But yeah, upon seeing this, like I said, this is the 5th time I've done this hike. I've been extremely lucky to say that. But the first thing you really notice is just the scale of how large this arch is. You have to be here to see it. Like, you can see the guy down there. Well, probably one last look here at the arch before we start hiking back. Like I said, I'm going to show you a few more views of Arches National Park. I think we'll go up and check out the Balance Rock and maybe 1 or 2 other things. But yeah, like I said, we got 5 hours to drive, so one last view. Check this view out. You see Sam down there? We climbed up into this little keyhole arch. We'll take you through and look at these views. Yeah. See Delicate Arch off in the distance there. Wow. Thought we were only going to see it one more time, but yeah, this was definitely worth climbing up. Went through an arch to see another arch. Only in Arches National Park. Oh yeah. As you can see, we are making our way back to Bertha, but this has to be one of the most epic, easy trails you can do here in Utah. Top 5 at least. You can see one of these arches starting to form here. Delicate Arch, as well as all the other 200 arches here in the national park, were formed just from thousands of years of erosion, wind, snow, ice melt, and one day this will also be an arch. It's just slowly getting eroded out here. But yeah, we're gonna do our best to show you everything we missed coming up in the dark and just kind of showcasing what this trail looks like in the light now. So we'll get back to Bertha and we'll take you to the next spot. Pretty epic view here. This was kind of the exposed section that we were hiking up earlier this morning whenever the sun was just starting to peek on over the hills here. But take a look at all the colors. I said this a couple weeks ago, but if you ever visit the Southwest, make sure you venture out for either sunrise or sunset, because the colors just seem to pop just crazily in these early morning or late evening views. You can see oranges, reds, even some greens off in the hill. Just pretty remarkable landscape here. Like I said, feels like you're walking on Mars. But Bertha's right there. We're gonna get down there and give you a little peek of Arches National Park here. like we got our first snake of the trip. Like I said, I'm not a reptile expert when it comes to Utah, but check this guy out. Almost looks like a garter snake, but he's very slender. You can see that little exposed section that we just traversed. Look at all the people out there. There's got to be at least 50, but Sam just brought up a good point. After that big wave came by, we pretty much had the trail all to ourselves. And they do have a reservation system here. A lot of the national parks are starting to do that now. So I think it kind of, you know, puts a little gap between these giant crowds and the rest of us. But yeah, I get it. I understand why they do the reservation system, but yeah, we're gonna keep moving here. Well, just in front of me here, you can see the main Delicate Arch Trail. And I will say probably 85% of folks probably skip this little spur trail here that takes you off to some petroglyphs. I thought I remember there being an old cabin over here as well. You know what? I can see it off in the distance. But yeah, I'm gonna stop and show you some petroglyphs real quick, and then we'll check out a old homestead. So looks like the petroglyphs are right where Sam is. And there you are. Check that out. I believe these are the first petroglyphs we found on the channel. Look at that. Looks like some, possibly some antelope, a horse. Looks like maybe a Native American riding horse. And I also think if you cross this rope here, it's a instant $10,000 fine and some jail time. But look at that. Imagine the folks out here that were doing that artwork. Looks like maybe even a coyote off in the left-hand corner. That is cool. All right, well, one last stop along the Delicate Arch Trail here. You can see the parking lot is just behind me, and we have this nice sign talking about this area known as Wolfe Ranch. It says Esther Stanley and her family moved into this cabin in 1906. They joined Esther's grandfather, who was a Civil War veteran, John Wesley Wolfe. I guess they were big cattle ranchers, but yeah, we're gonna walk on down here and check this out. Look at that. Well, just a quick stop here at Wolfe Ranch. This trail truly does have it all. I mean, we've seen the most iconic arch in the world, petroglyphs, and now we are here at an old homestead. Pretty interesting. Imagine living in here back in the early 1900s. All I got in there is a chair and a table. So yeah, imagine living out here in the 120-degree heat. I don't know what this is, maybe where they would store their food. Maybe like some kind of root cellar. And as you can see, both of them have these mud roofs to keep the temperatures down. Just a cool old piece of history here, the Wolfe Ranch. Join us next week as we check out the rest of Arches National Park. And if you aren't already, please hit that subscribe button, give the video a like, and comment. Tell me which is your favorite national park. And here are some photos from the hike to wrap things up. I'll see you next week from back here at Arches National Park. Thank you.